Hello, everyone. If everybody can give me a thumbs up that you can hear me okay, I'd appreciate it. Hey. I'd like to encourage everybody as best we can whenever we are not talking, and I don't expect to be talking the whole time. I hope you all will share as well. Just try to remember to mute yourself. It really helps with the sound quality of the recording. We all have families. We all have pets, or maybe some of us have families and some of us have pets, but I have both, and they get loud sometimes at all the wrong times. You know what I'm saying? So if we can just remember to keep muted, but of course unmute to share, that would be great. I'd also like to invite everyone to use the chat, not only as a way to ask questions, but also as a way to share. If you have a link to your Google Drive, a particular file that you'd like to share with the group, not only am I recording our fun time today, I'm also going to record the chat and share that additionally. So it should be a really wonderful resource for all of us, even though I will go back through and take some notes. If any of you have ever been in that situation of note taker, we miss things sometimes, or great ideas start popping all over the place and we miss something. And so that chat, I encourage us all to utilize that as best we can. Sorry about that. All right. Well, I think it would be awesome, as I'm continuing to admit people to our session today. I would like for us, looks like this is a pretty manageable number of people in our group, and I would like very much if we could introduce ourselves just briefly. So your name and where you teach. As a person who received this email, you know, the assumption is that you are a K-5 elementary music teacher. However, some of you may have other hats that you wear in addition to that role. So what I'd like for us to try to do is, if you have your, you should be aware next to your name as a participant, if I unmute you, and then I will say your first name, and then I'll ask you to just speak up and tell everybody who you are and your role, okay? So first up, because this is alphabetical, Alan, you're the lucky one.
Hi, I'm Alan Currington. I teach in Hopkins County. I teach at 3 elementary schools, Southside, Grapevine, and Earlington.
Awesome. I grew up in Dawson Springs.
Okay.
I know where you are.
Yeah.
Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right. Courtney?
Hi, I'm Courtney Tarray, and I'm recovering from surgery, so I'm not feeling up for a video right now.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay. I had surgery last week. I teach in Scott County at Lemons Mill Elementary. I see some other Scott County on here, so glad to see you, and thanks for doing this, Johnny.
Oh, yeah. Happy to host. Next is Daryl.
I am retired, and I am the KMEA State K-5 chair.
Awesome, Daryl. We're so glad you're with us. And let's see. Oh, Elizabeth.
Yes, I'm Listen. Oh, which Elizabeth, I guess.
You.
Okay.
It says Elizabeth iPhone X, so that's what I'm seeing here.
Oh, mine is the Sisson, but my first name is Elizabeth.
Awesome. And Elizabeth, where do you teach?
I teach at Walton Verona Elementary, and I have K4.
Awesome. So glad you're with us.
Thanks.
All right, next up, Erin.
I'm Erin Casimir. I teach in Woodford County in Midway at Northside Elementary in K5.
Awesome. I love Midway. Such a cool place. And Jen Maddle or Matil?
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Short video. There we go. I teach in Harrison County in Cynthiana.
Awesome. Awesome. So glad to know you. Next is Julie.
I'm Julie Hartman, and I teach at Allen County Primary Center in Scottsville, Kentucky, and I am the past state K-5 chair, and I'm currently in charge of the Kentucky Children's Chorus.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, I'm going to come back as I have admitted more friends, and everyone's coming in here alphabetically. I'm going to come back up, and I'm going to catch Karen. Oh, wait, where'd you go, Karen? There we are, Karen A.W.
Whoops, sorry, I was talking and was muted. Anyway, I'm Karen Watkins, and I'm in Warren County Public Schools at Richardsville Elementary and also North Warren Elementary, K through 6.
Awesome, awesome. All right. Julie, we got to hear from, Dr. Strobe. In the house.
In the house. Hi, Johnny.
Hey.
Thought I'd check in and make sure you were behaving.
That's always a smart choice.
No.
Right now, we're doing great, I think.
So far, you know things like who each other are.
Right. Great to have you, Dr. Strobe.
I'll be here for a few minutes anyway.
Oh, yay. Awesome. Next, Kelly.
Hi, I'm Kelly Spoonamore, and I teach at Cox's Creek Elementary School, K through 5.
Awesome.
Kelly's my buddy.
Yeah. So glad you're here. Okay, next is Hughes. Last name Hughes.
Hi, it's Laura. I teach at Collins Lane Elementary in Frankfurt.
Awesome. So glad you're with us, Laura. Next is Lisa.
I'm Lisa Lawson, and I teach at Rosa Parks Elementary in Lexington.
Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Johnny.
Oh, awesome. Next is Megan.
Hi. I am Megan Collar, and I teach at Natcher Elementary in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Awesome. So glad to see you. Next, let's see. Marcy.
Hello, I'm Marcy. Hi. I teach at Western Elementary in Georgetown, Kentucky.
Wonderful, Marcy. Nice to know you. And now, okay, so now we've got a ton of people in here. Marcy, you get to be the last lucky friend that introduced themselves. What I'd like for you to do, since we are going to utilize the chat and we want to have time to share, I would like to, it's my idea, and I hope this is okay with everyone. If you'll use the chat, and this is a nice private or nice way to practice writing in chat or typing in chat if you like. If you haven't, come on and introduce yourself personally. If you'll now take a moment in the chat and type in your name and where you teach. Again, since we're saving the chat, this will be a nice reference for everyone. I have, and we'll go ahead and get started. I don't think I introduced myself and where I teach. Well, you know who I am because you got the invitation from me. I'm Johnny Bishop, and I teach at Veterans Park Elementary School. I teach K-5 music in the Fayette County Public Schools. And I want to just say I don't have all the answers, but I do believe I have a few, and I think the rest of us do too. And through the process of sharing with one another, whether that's through sharing lesson ideas or sharing apps or websites that we found to be particularly helpful, we can really rock the coming school year. I truly believe that. I won't lie, I'm nervous about it. I'm sure some of you might be as well. But like you, I'm committed to giving it my best shot. If you didn't feel that way, you wouldn't be here right now. And so it shows that you care just by giving up your time on a Monday evening in the summer. Or I assume it's the summer. Some of you may have already started back in school or with NTI. I don't know your particular situation. But Dr. Strobe was able to share with me I believe Dr. Strobe was the first 16 responses maybe that were given on the survey that we all filled out, or that some of us might have chosen to fill out if we wanted to, about what we felt like our needs were as teachers headed into the fall semester and the entire school year, because we don't know what the future holds for us really as educators with respect to COVID. And so I'm just going to use those talking points and invite you to utilize the chat and to share. If you have a lesson or I should say a website or a tool that works for you, you might give not only the name of that app or website, but you might give a little in the chat again. You can share the link in the chat or even the name. And then in parentheses or out next to that item, for example, if you wanted to talk about WeVideo as a way to record yourself and your lessons, then you might put that. Like I wouldn't just type WeVideo. I would type WeVideo and in parentheses, a great way to record lessons, 5 minutes or less, you know, something like that, so that everyone's aware when they go back and read what that particular tool is pertaining, or to what it's pertaining. There we go. Okay, so first of all, I wanted to share out that the majority of us had questions about tips or requesting tips or best practices for a virtual choir, whether that is recording, whether or not to have choir in a virtual format or through NTI. Did anyone want to raise their hand here, or you can do that in the chat, or just unmute yourself? Is there anyone who has had success through the spring semester or summer utilizing tools to record and make a virtual choir type recording?
Well, we did one sort of, but I didn't do the editing part of it. I passed that off to a colleague's husband who has a company in video editing. So I just we did a song from Lion King kids that we were supposed to perform this spring. And the kids just sang like with the recorded track and filmed themselves. It came out pretty good considering they didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare it. But like I said, I didn't do any of the video editing part of it, so I can't really speak to the actual compilation. But as long as you give clear enough directions, they can handle it. They were 3rd through 5th graders.
Awesome. And Erin, can you maybe share what tool did the students use to make their recordings?
Most of them filmed just from a phone, I think, or an iPad. I just encouraged them to have them the audio playing in a different device with headphones on or earbuds in, so that all you get on the recording is their voices only. And it took a lot, I think. That's a hard thing for kids that age to kind of step out of their comfort zone and do by themselves in their homes to record like that. But it's definitely not something I would to put the time and effort into getting myself. But because I had the resources available for someone else to do it for me, we gave it a shot.
Right. Oh, thanks so much for sharing that. Is there anyone else that wanted to chime in with a positive experience that you also had in making a virtual choir type recording for your ensemble?
Johnny, I'll chime in with 2 things.
Okay.
Not exactly what you asked for. I think I know 2 things about it. One is it's important for the recording. If it has an introduction, that's fine. But really, what you need is like a 4 metronome beats in front, and they clap on the 4th one or something, and that way the engineer can line those up. It's like that clicker board on movies where they're lining up the audio and the video. They need to get all the claps lined up so that they're synchronized to start. So I know there's a little more to it than if you had all the recordings and gave it to somebody, you would have missed a very helpful step. So it's good to talk to the engineer before you do it. And the second is that it does take some expertise to do it well. And I mean, you need to be a musician, and you need to be tech savvy and have the Adobe or whatever software tool to do it, it's really expensive. So either you have to pay a lot to get the stuff and learn how to do it, or you probably have to pay somebody a reasonable amount for their time. It's not quite as easy as some of your students' parents might think. Oh, I saw Eric Whitaker's thing on YouTube, and it was marvelous with tens of thousands of people. Yeah, he had some money to put behind that.
Right. Now, friends and Dr. Strobe, all of those points are important talking points and considerations for anybody looking to go down that rabbit hole, as they say, and make a virtual recording. I'm going to try, because see, we're talking about virtual teaching is not in my comfort zone, friends. And so right now, I'm going to take a big leap and share my screen. I've got some stuff on here to show. So let's cross our fingers and see what happens. I'm pushing the little button. Oh boy. Okay, so now I can go to desktop 1 and I can share. Okay, so now here's what I wanted to share first. For any of my Fayette County colleagues and outside, if you're a Cynthiana, one of our Cynthiana friends, Crystal Peters is a colleague that teaches at Dixie Magnet. And I will share this, Dr. Strobe, with you. This is a Google Slides presentation. Crystal was unable to be here with us, but she, being the generous person and awesome teacher that she is, she actually put together this set of slides that give you tips that she utilized in order to make videos, production videos with her students. Her spring, Erin, I believe you mentioned the Lion King Kids was your presentation, or was going to be your musical. And at her school, it was Moana. And so included in her presentation is really everything step by step that she utilized in order to, and she gives examples of, she made a promotional video for her school. Moana went well enough that the school, her school Dixie, asked her to make a promotional video. And so I want you, and if you can remember her name, Crystal Peters, I believe it's here. Oh, she didn't even put her name. You can see it right there on my screen as I'm screen sharing. But she is such a talented lady with a big heart. And if you email her, she would be happy to share what she knows with you and take you through those steps. And Erin, did you say that you had a parent that was a good videographer that helped you put the video together? Is that right?
It was a coworker. One of our third grade teachers' husbands owns the video editing company. So he'd never done one, and I asked if he'd be willing to give it a shot. And so he and some of his coworkers put it together for us.
You are so lucky. That's wonderful. But I think many of us have those people in our lives, possibly. We just may not know that a parent. So I would ask often, if it's in the business sector, if it's a small town, we tend to know everybody already. But if it's a big town like Lexington, you kind of have to ask around a little bit more, maybe, to know who has those skills or has a business in that way. Lisa, our colleague, Judy Reynolds, has a very talented son who actually does videography for a local church here in Lexington. And he was her resource to help her put her video together. So definitely utilize community resources if you want to go that route. But definitely we'll be sharing Crystal's, I keep wanting to say PowerPoint, that's showing my age, her Google slide presentation with her tips and tricks that she used. Also, while I'm here, let's just keep it rolling, right? I'm gonna keep going. I've got, these are my notes. I know that we're all aware of Google, and if you have a question about anything, pretty much you can Google it. Well, one thing that happened when I Googled play music on Zoom and a way to structure your rehearsals, if you Google that, I found this. It's a website called Move, and they had a lot of tricks. Dr. Strobe was talking about like how to set the audio up to have a better quality recording, you know, for the student recordings as well as for your final product, and recommendations of if you're teaching a Zoom lesson, as we're having a Zoom meeting right now, but if you're teaching a class live in Zoom, it'll help you set up your audio utilizing headphones rather than just the open audio that I'm using now for our meeting. If I were having a Zoom class session or rehearsal, I would definitely have my earphones on and play the music from my computer rather than a secondary sound source. So again, many of you are way past that, and you're very well versed at conducting a lesson via Zoom or Google Meet. However, I just wanted to point this resource out, and again, it's going to be shared out on, now I have it linked here, Also, KMEA. If we go to the KMEA website, they have a lot of tools at the ready for us. These are the safety guidelines and the protocols recommended by KMEA for setting up your rehearsal space. If any of you are going to return in August or September to in-person learning, and hopefully we all will get there eventually. This document, and it also has links to other data and research. Click away and see best practices for setting up the rehearsal environment. I know when I read these documents, that environment is going to look very different than a typical rehearsal would look. We're going to have to spread out a great deal. We're going to have to possibly have part of the choir rehearse rather than all of the students, so that we can meet those the 6 foot distance guidelines and so on when we rehearse. Did anyone, because I'm talking way more than I should, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Did anyone want to chime in regarding their plans to have or in-person rehearsals this fall? Okay, not hearing anyone chime in there. I know in my personal district and teaching situation, we're going back virtually with non-traditional instruction, with a possible hybrid model being utilized when it is safe to return to school, when the superintendent deems that it is safe to return to school. Did anyone else have anything to share in that regard? Okay, Alan?
We just found out last week we are going back on a hybrid model, AB. We will have half the students for 2 days, then we will have a day where we're doing all virtual learning, and then the other half for 2 days. In a meeting with the rest of the specials program at my homeschool today, we were told that our music is, we're going to be splitting an hour per class. So it'll be 30 minutes music, 30 minutes PE one day, and the other day will be 30 minutes library, 30 minutes computer, which is not a bad situation given the time constraints that we're being put in, but that was just released to us today.
Wow. So and when do you start school?
Currently we are scheduled to start August 26th.
Okay, that's the same day. So will you have a district person who will tell you basically, Alan, how to arrange your chairs or your rehearsal space?
We'll be going to the classrooms to do music or any of our special programs. Going to be on a cart this year. Because of limited space within the school and still trying to find out numbers per classroom, they thought that would be the best option instead of having the students moving around the school and risking more spread than just to have the teachers together each classroom.
Yes. So are you planning on just keeping the students then in the arrangement that their classroom teacher has them and just
Most likely, yes.
Okay. And you haven't received any notification that you're not allowed to sing?
That is being debated currently. The other 2 elementary music teachers in the district and I have asked multiple times for guidance, but we have received none so far. I'm sure we will at some point. It's just not gotten to that point yet.
Right. One point, I guess, or protocol that's listed in documentation that I've read for safe singing during this time is the ability to possibly go outside, weather permitting. Do you feel like you might have flexibility to take your students outside? Is there, I know facilities limit that sometimes. There might not be a safe place for you.
At my first school, yes, they've already discussed that. That's why the PE teacher and myself would be sharing that hour so both of us can go outside to do our thing. Of course, weather dependent, and as wet as it has been lately, that may not be the best plan. But yes, we are working on setting up a space outside of the school to do that so we can at least have some room to sing.
Right. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
No problem.
That,
Thank you.
Alan. Is there anyone else that wanted to share about either that piece, the mobility piece of having to possibly teach on a cart? Looking at the survey results, Dr. Strobe, that you shared with me, 3 of the 16 respondents mentioned that they would also be teaching a la carte. And there may be more of us that would be in that particular situation. Did anyone else like Alan want to share strategies that you have been developing with your administrators?
I can tell you what I think I'm going to be doing. I always preface this with, this is what I know as of this minute, but I will be on a cart going around to the classrooms, and each cohort of kids is going to stay together. They're going to eat their lunches in their room. They're going to do everything in a room together. We are encouraged to take them outside when weather's permitting and things like that. And I have been told that if all of our kids is going to have like a little plexiglass personal space thing. Wow. I have been told that if they are using that and their mask, that we can sing. They'll have to use those seated, so we'll just have to work on that kind of thing. But my extracurricular choir is not going to happen at least until January. So wow. That's what, I'm going to be able to have individual rehearsals in my classroom. But my classroom will actually be a homeroom. That's how we got the kids spread out enough to do it. And we go back on the 19th in person.
Wow. Wow. Well, something that Brenda, thought that I covet is that you're going to have the plexiglass option in the classroom, because I'm not aware if in my school that will be present, to help, because we are more likely to be able to sing with our kids if there are adequate safety measures and precautions in place, such as a screen in addition to the mask that would facilitate safe singing, Well, you're starting very soon. I hope you have a wonderful year. So did you say you are also on a cart?
That's correct. I have all of the special area teachers. Also, Catholic schools are K through 8, or mine is anyway. And we will be, all the special area teachers will have a homeroom. That's how they got the kids spread out enough to get enough distance between them. And I don't have to teach any of the second grade classes, or any of that. But, my instruments are all in storage in the library right now and all of that. So it's going to be, I'm just going to really focus on social and emotional learning and try to do things where they can, use music to get it, some of their feelings and stuff, at least at the beginning of the year.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, I know I have been in a situation where I taught music from a cart, And I can tell you it has its challenges, but at the time when I was doing that, I wasn't battling COVID, and trying to follow additional safety protocols. So I had more options, quite honestly, as to instruments that I could use on the cart, take them classroom to classroom, drums. There was I had access to utilize more of my materials as a music teacher. So I applaud you and Alan and others that are facing that challenge of not only going back in person, but being on a cart as well with your materials.
I bought enough drumsticks for all of my youngest ones that do a lot of rhythm stuff. They'll all have their own pair of drumsticks they can keep in their desk, and a few little, basically the little $3 goodie bag, of music things. So
that's great.
There's a few things like that will help a little bit.
Way to go. That's awesome. That's really awesome. I'll have to remember that. I may have to see Brenda where I can get $3 drumsticks.
Actually, the
drumsticks.
Drumstick part was only like $1.25. They're on Amazon.
Oh,
you can
I
buy.
have an idea. Can I speak for a second?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hi.
I was on Music Play. Denise Gagne, she had some really good ideas and some free little webinars that you can watch. And they suggested, which my school is really up for it, so you might approach your school about making individual student kits, instrument kits. And they suggested like buying chopsticks, and you can buy like bulk chopsticks for like $10 for like 100 pair. And like using that, some of them said they're using just solo cups or having kids bring in cans. You can make egg shakers if you get like corn or whatever you want cheap that you can find to fill it with like Easter eggs and like duct tape or something. And you can order scarves in bulk, or if you get a fabric store, you can cut some of your own. So they would have at least something they can move to, something they could shake, something they can hit. What was the other? I can't remember. They included like, let's see, pool noodles. If you buy pool noodles, cutting them, and if you scrape them, they make a really great sand block sound. So like they would keep them in a bag, or if they had like a can that was used, maybe you're using cans or a bucket, your school will buy you buckets. They can keep all these materials by their desk or in their desk, and that's their own personal one. You don't have to worry about cleaning them. You don't have to worry about sanitizing, and everybody has their own. You're not sharing. And then they come to you, or if you come to them, they have these materials that you can use every time you come in. So at least they're still participating and doing, whether it be in their seat or whatever, they still have their own, and they're still able to do some instrument sounds and movement and stuff with you. So that's
Sarah, that's a wonderful idea. All wonderful ideas. I'm glad we're recording this, right? So I can go back and watch it and write down so many of your great ideas. And Lisa, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and Music Play, I started looking online at the Music Play. They have an online thing it has. I don't know if anybody uses it. I don't, but I've just started looking at it. And I know a lot of people have Quaver, and that's awesome, but it's really expensive. The Music Play is like $150, I think. It's just $150, and you get access to, of course, I think that's every year, I think. And you get access to all these listening tracks. They have all these resources you just pop up on your computer. They have graphics on there, listening, game ideas. Like, it's awesome. It looks really awesome. So if you're having to go to CART, you can take a laptop or something, and maybe if you can get that program, you can plug into their smart board or something, and you can take that with you, and you can have access to a lot of stuff that might help. I don't know if you just get on Music Play, Denise Gagne, and look into it, just kind of research it and see if it's something. They give you a free trial so you can get on and explore it. So that might be something else that you might want to look into.
Great ideas. Thank you, Sarah. That's awesome.
Oh,
Go ahead. Yeah,
this is
Erin.
what I'm using from my instrument kit in case anyone else wants to see it. These are the Herbalife distributor, like the protein shake containers.
Uh-huh.
And you can, so in it there will be an egg and a scarf. And I got these are the dull pointed corn dog sticks and a tin can with the pool noodles.
Awesome.
Sandbox. And they all fit down inside of it. And if I get permission, there will be a Beanie Baby on top as well to use as like a bean bag or a beat buddy. So, but that's what I'm using, and everything fits down inside of it, and you can use the container as a drum as well.
Oh, awesome. Now, Lisa, I'm not sure if Lisa Lawson's still on the call, but Lisa, all of these great ideas are reminding me about the kids' music kit that you shared with me years ago. And I'm so embarrassed that I can't think of the name of, it's like Kids Play. But we actually utilized I utilized the school cafeteria and got those large industrial cans that the green beans and the corn come in. And you set up a drum set and all of the materials and items fit down into the can. And I had no idea how many cans our cafeteria went through in a week. Within a week, she had 60 cans for me. This was 2 years ago. She was like, do you want me to keep saving them? And I was like, no, please.
So right. Those are called crash cans. Kids try and call them trash cans, but they're called crash cans. And I think Megan Collar on there is showing us one of Artie Almeida's crash cans.
Yeah.
That's a cutting board and one of the large vegetable cans. And then you put a tambourine in it, a pair of drumsticks. And then you can use the sides of the vegetable can as a scraper, or the bottom of it as a drum. So I'm thinking about trying to do what they were talking about a few minutes ago, is just making a miniature version of that with like a vegetable can and chopsticks and the pool noodles and the egg shakers. That's where I am right now, but I'm trying to decide if I'm going to try and do it for 750 kids.
I know.
So that's a lot.
That's a lot of vegetable cans.
Yes, it is.
Wow. Awesome. Okay. Did anyone else want to share those great strategies of, we'll call them possibly homemade instruments? Oh, hey, Martha.
Yes, I'm doing a music bag also. And the one thing that we're adding is a small whiteboard. And so the kids can write down rhythms and I can assess them as they're doing that. And it'll fit in the 2-gallon plastic bag that I'm going to be using. So I'm excited to try that too.
I love that. Now, is that for in-person instruction or at-home instruction?
It could be both.
Right.
Because we don't know yet for sure.
Gotcha. What a great idea. Oh, yeah. I see hands, and just go ahead and, let's see, Julie. Thank you, Martha. Julie unmuted also, I think. Julie?
If you're looking for a cheap way to make a whiteboard, you take a sheet of bathboard from Lowe's, like you're going to put up in your bathroom, and you cut it on your table saw. It's 4x8, and it's like white, like you put up in your bathroom. Makes great whiteboard, and it's half the price of a regular whiteboard.
That's awesome. Now, I don't have a table saw. However, I believe the nice people at Lowe's or Home Depot will often cut those things for you.
If you beg and tell them what you're doing it for, and you tell them how wide you want it, they will cut it for you, usually. if you tell them how big you want it.
That's how I get free paint sticks from the paint department. You just make them feel like they're, saving the world by giving children free stuff. Or, yeah, that's a great idea, Julie. Did anybody else? I saw someone waving. Was it Kelly? Yeah, Kelly, what did you want to share?
So someone already put the link in the comments. It's Sweet Pipes, and they make a different one for each grade level. It's like a kit you can buy pre-made. It's too expensive. You can make it for so much cheaper. So I'm currently literally copying everything in their little kits for each grade. So they had so I have a whole I'm sitting here while I'm talking to you guys cutting these out. And so my kids are gonna get these, and they'll have little square measures that they can fill and work with that. And then I also ordered 3,000 little bingo pieces so that we can also do melodic. So they're all going to get a measure like this, and they'll get a measure with 4 boxes or 3 boxes. And I got permission from my school to print off, and it was almost a page and a half per kid. But if you think about it, that's not a lot. That's not a lot to ask for. But so that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah, way to go. So that would also, like Martha's suggestion, and really many of these suggestions, if we can get our materials together in time for them to go home with the students' Chromebooks, if we are an NTI, your ideas here, Kelly, would work for at-home learning or in-person learning in a hybrid model or in-person teaching. That's awesome. Did anybody else want to share about their individualized kits that they're offering for students? Okay. Let me go back to our talking points.
Sorry. Hey, Johnny.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, just before you move on to one thing, I'm probably about to go because I've got a phone call coming in here and I better return and all. But first of all, I love Sarah's thing about the pool noodles. I got to go get a pool noodle and try the sandpaper thing. That's great. I did that with those little sanding blocks one time, that you can buy, little foam blocks, and that almost worked. Anyway, this aerosol study that I keep emailing about, I think the people that end up being most interested in that is the band directors and the choir directors, because they fear for their lives. They almost don't feel like they have anything else they can do except blow horns and sing. And if they have to, it'll be such a different complexion. I know they're worried about morale in their groups and that kind of thing, because the kids sign up expecting to do those things, whereas in elementary classroom, they sort of show up because it's time on the schedule, and you can fill that time with body percussion and any kind of fun stuff that doesn't involve using the voice. So you might not be quite as freaked out as they are, although I know everybody's freaked out, so it's just relative. The thing is, though, I think it might go back, if you saved your emails, and go back and look from website, where I've pointed to some different things with aerosol distribution. I couldn't spell aerosol about 2 months ago, but now I feel like I'm had a graduate class on it. We've had just a preliminary result about 3 weeks ago, and this week, hopefully this week, they're supposed to come out with the second one, which I expect to be lots more than the first one, from what I understand. The hints I'm getting from the coordinator. It should, for one thing, they're about to come up with a risk assessment tool where you can assess your classroom by putting in the width, depth, height of the room, get the cubic area. You have to talk about the ventilation, because that's huge. This thing, unlike they used to think, is almost certainly distributed through the air, at least partly, contact and aerosol distribution. And they've found an awful lot about this. And the masks, you know, they're really talking about masks on instruments, singing with masks. And if you're indoors and you're 6 feet distant and you're singing with a mask, the risk is considerably reduced than if you're closer or singing without masks. Maybe if you can get it where you can understand their diction through a mask, boy, you take those off, they're going to sound great, you know. So maybe, you know, it's like running with weights, you know, you take them off, it's just way better. So anyway, we should see more, and I encourage you to look at that because of the fact that in your classroom, singing is such an important part, as you know, obviously, and you do have paranoid parents and paranoid administrators. And even if you look at it, you go, I know this is safe. I can really almost tell by looking that it's safe. If you have something that you can point to, scientific evidence, that'll take you a long way toward getting them to relax and let you do what you find is safe. So you might look for some of those things that I keep sending out. I've put a bunch of them on the KMEA Facebook page too. So that's easy to, you know, go back. The other thing is, it's interesting, but people keep asking about, you know, putting plexiglass in the room to separate the students. As it turns out, that might not be a good idea because it creates stagnant air pockets in the room. And what the point is, in that area, there could grow a concentration, if somebody's sick, concentration of virus-laden aerosol that sort of hangs there. And then the next person that walks into it and sits there could, if they breathed it enough, could get enough that would overwhelm their immune system. It's the amount of time plus the concentration. This is why the shorter period is being advised. Don't have your rehearsals in the room for very long, because after a certain point, it gets to be there's enough aerosol in the room. If anybody's sick, it can make other people sick. It can overwhelm their immune system. It's so complicated that, you know, even the scientists don't understand it, these people at University of Colorado, but it's pretty fascinating. And if you can turn to that, you'll spot, I guarantee you, if you haven't, you'll spot things that you had no idea about that'll help put you in the right direction toward doing the right thing, that you can feel good about what you've done. So thanks, Johnny, for doing this. All these ideas are tremendous. Pool noodles, got to do it. I'll see you guys later. So,
thanks, Dr. Strobe. All right, while Dr. Strobe was talking, and because our time, we have about 10 minutes remaining, I took advantage of the chat, and another talking point was going to be about proper cleaning techniques to keep yourself safe and the students safe if you are having to share instruments in any way, or just for daily cleaning, just as a best practice. That can be found on Amro Music. Amro Music is out of Memphis, Tennessee. They have an amazing website, and yes, they sell band and orchestra instruments, but they have a series of YouTube tutorial videos on literally how to clean every instrument in a band and orchestra. And so for those of us with ukuleles or guitar, and you're looking for proper ways without damaging the instruments, you can utilize their tips for the violin and viola and use them well. I know I have enjoyed those YouTube tutorials. So it's not on the Amro Music site. You go to their YouTube channel and subscribe, and you can find it there. Also, of course, KMEA's website, as Dr. Strobe mentioned, and NAFME's website. For me personally, I have really relied on NAFME and the blogs that you can sign up for, and articles that are sent out that you can read. I know from March through May, they hosted some pretty amazing professional development sessions, and they continue to do that through the summer and then on into the fall. And of course, all those resources are free. So I just kind of wanted to get that out there before we went away. Is there anything, let me see, structuring online? We haven't really talked a lot about the technical aspect or the technological aspect of teaching from home. Did anyone, oh yes, yeah, it's AMRO Music, AMRO, yeah. And I put it in the chat too. It's just up a little higher. You spelled it correctly, yes. Did anyone have another question that they wanted to ask of the group? Maybe something you just thought about after hearing our discussion today? Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
I put this in the chat, but I was just curious. Those of you who are in districts that are going full virtual, are your kids in music, like areas, going to be required graded assignments, or are they going to be optional? Our district originally said that we were going to be parent choice in person or virtual, and we were supposed to have a board meeting tonight to probably change that, and it got moved to next Monday. So I won't know officially for another week what we're doing. But we've been told if we're all virtual that special areas will not be graded or required. So I'm just trying to figure out exactly like what, if we go all virtual, what kind of assignments do I want to do? Because I don't want to do too much new content. If I know that when we get back, half of the kids probably wouldn't have seen it or done it anyway. So just any thoughts on that?
Does anyone want to respond to Erin? Feel free to unmute yourself.
I know that we were kind of in that same situation in the spring where it was optional. We were still required to give them learning opportunities and things like that. So having like the flip grid or the things that they could respond to, like if they're going to create something and then have them be able to turn it into you and you could give them feedback, that was really motivation for them to do it. Not everybody did it, and Flipgrid is awesome because it's kind of like social media for them where they can see each other's if you allow that to happen. And that was another encouragement, I think, for them. So that helped with me anyway.
That's a wonderful tip. Anybody else want to chime in? I chimed in via chat. I will say that I am I insist on the ability to grade my students typically. Like for me personally, I have students, 4th and 5th grade students who sometimes the motivator for them to complete my assessments and activities is that grade. Not every student is like that. Many are intrinsically motivated, as we know. But I have found that is a leverage that I don't even have to employ that. They know they're getting a grade and it's going on the report card and it factors in and it's averaged in with everyone else's. But that being said, and this isn't a district county thing, this is just a school building thing. Our parents have been very overwhelmed with their students' regular classroom work. And so we were asked during NTI, which is not virtual, Erin, like you were talking, like your whole day's virtual. We are going to offer that too. But like for our NTI piece, we are actually going to not grade the students on their specials work. But when we go back to hybrid instruction and in-person learning, those grades will come back in. And in our school, that's a site-based decision that has to be made. So we actually changed our site-based policy to be no grading for specials. And you might just be aware that at least in our school and in our district that, well, in every school that has a site-based council, the grading policy is voted on. And so it does have to be formally changed, and you're expected to follow that policy. I'm just throwing that out there if you're in a Kentucky public school. Did anyone else want to unmute and speak to the grading policy that they have at their school?
My school just did participation. So if they did one of like the music assignments for the however many weeks, like 5 or 6 weeks that we had, they got 100%. Like they got fully, you participated. But on the other end, if they didn't do any of them, they got a D. Like that's what they got. And that was a frustrating thing. But that's how our site base voted on it.
Right. Thank you for sharing, Kelly. Did anybody else want to speak to that? Julie?
In the spring, and I imagine we'll do a similar piece if we're NTI. The 6 of us, it was the guidance counselors, me, PE, science, which our science lab teacher, of course, I'm just at a K3 building, so that's why she's part of our team, visual arts, and our librarian who also teaches a technology portion. And I guess that's all of us. There's 6 of us. We made kind of like a grid, and the kids, we all submitted 2 or 3 lessons, and we made like a bingo board, and the kids had to choose something from it each day. So, you know, those kids that are couch potatoes and do not like PE never chose PE. But ultimately, they ended up having to choose it at some point off the day. But those kids that didn't, you know, feel like they didn't like visual arts, or that frustrated them, you know, they would choose mine, or they would choose something else. So they had some flexibility, but it allowed those kids to choose their likes. It also gave them, with the guidance counselors, that SEL component that they were looking for. And it gave the kids some ownership in what they wanted to do, and they didn't feel like they didn't have to do everything. But it wasn't graded necessarily, but we did get the participation we were wanting from the kids. So I felt like it was a win-win, and I think we will probably do something similar. And all of us, all 6 of us, shared a Google Classroom together. We all shared a Related Arts Google Classroom. And we've all made Bitmoji classrooms for this fall so that we can all link off of it together. We have a shared Bitmoji that goes in our Google. So hopefully that will help the kids this fall. We're hoping. Right. I don't know.
That's awesome. I like the idea of the Related Arts Google Classroom too, Julie. It makes it easier for not only the parents to find you all, but the students, you know, a centralized location. That's a very wonderful idea to help parents and students get to your world, you know, get to your lessons. Well, friends, it's 5 o'clock, and I can't believe the time has flown. I have enjoyed learning from you all today. Again, we've recorded our session today, and that will be shared with you it will come from Dr. Strobe. In addition to the recording, there will be possibly a separate document with the chat. Zoom can be a little persnickety. I personally do not have like the pro level Zoom. I didn't pay for that subscription. And so often when we share, they're shared on 2 separate documents. So one link will be the video portion, and the other link will be the chat. I tried to save it on the video so you get both, but at any rate, you'll have a copy of the chat. And I'd like to encourage everybody, as you look, and if you go back and watch this video again, reach out to those who spoke up about a particular tool, technique, a tip, and seek those people out via email, or if you know them personally, and ask them more questions. Feel free to try to network, if you will, among the group that was here. And I wish all of you the very best for the 2021 school year. Thanks for sharing today, and God bless.